Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Juli Pitra with Pitranomics, ready for another Thursday talk. And I'm pretty excited because we have a very special guest named Pam Bowers, and she is the owner of Chaos Pros LLC. What an awesome name, right? Chaos LLC is a member of the National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals. What is that, NAPO?
NAPO, yeah.
NAPO? Okay.
Yeah.
And in its Dallas Fort Worth chapter, Chaos Pros is a 5-star rated organization on homeadvisors.com. Now, here's the part I find really exciting. Pam was on the A&E Hoarders show, the episode called the Joe episode, where she tried to help some hoarders. That is a whole new level of helping someone to be organized. That's some
Yes.
mental therapy, some physical therapy, some place therapy. It's a lot. She has participated in the Dallas Fort Worth area for a while. She's been featured in the Dallas Morning News, Prosper Living Magazine, and Frisco Style Magazine. And she's also been highlighted on several online sites such as planoprofile.com and canvasrebel.com. Right now, currently, she lives in Little Elm with her husband of 35 plus years, 4 dogs, and some pond goldfish. I don't think I know what those are. Okay.
They look like, people always call them koi, but they're some goldfish. So we bought the pet store and threw in the pond, and they're like 6 inches long. Okay.
There we go. So I hope they're happy. Pam, thank you so much for joining us and helping us to understand how important organization is for optimizing your resources, especially money, energy, and time, which is what we concentrate on here.
Yes.
In Pitranomics. So please welcome Pam Bowers, and let's have a fun evening. Pam, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, so take it away, Pam.
Anything. What am I supposed to? I thought you were going to be asking me questions. I don't know what I'm doing.
No. So for those that haven't heard about Pitranomics, it's a 10-part strategy to grow, protect, and transfer wealth. And the very first part is to set your life goals. And those are the goals that are so important that if you don't accomplish them, your life won't feel as if it's had purpose. So I call those the end of life goals. Now, once you've established your goals, that's part of the first strategy. The second part of the first strategy is to understand what your resources are. And we focus on money, energy, and time. And no matter how much of any of those you have, they are finite. So they need to be prioritized, and they need to be prioritized and used in the used in the accomplishment of your end of life goals. So one of the reasons I wanted to have Pam here.
Recording in progress.
Oh, there we go. Okay, somebody's recording. One of the things that I thought would have Pam share about is when you aren't organized, you are squandering resources.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, being disorganized can cost you money. Mm-hmm. Being disorganized can squander your time. And being disorganized can make it so that your energy levels feel really low. If you're trying to do great work in a cluttered environment, you're going to feel draggy. You're going to feel distracted. But if you're in an organized that's designed for your functionality, your energy levels go up. Mm-hmm. And all of that is just really, really, really important to make sure that you're organized. But some of us, me, have trouble figuring out how to get from our current state to the more optimal state that will help us use our resources. Mm-hmm. So, Pam, if you can explain to us what exactly is a professional organizer and what that sort of assistance can you expect to get from one?
I decided to look up the definition to see if it would help me explain a little bit. And according to the definition that I found in the New York Times, professional organizer is a person who can help you organize any of the physical and digital spaces in your life, period. Whether it's things in a closet or it's your data files on your computer. If it's something that needs organized, that's where professional organizers come in handy. And you were talking about how it can cost you money lose money if you're not organized. Another thing that surprised me having this career was that being disorganized can cost you a relationship. The best comment, or I guess praise, I ever received from a client, there was a couple that we had helped. We were referred to them by their therapist, and we helped them. And towards the end, we did their whole house. And towards the end of the job, one of them pulled me aside and said, you know, we spend all this money on therapy, and we probably could have saved at least half of that if we had just hired you first. You've rescued our relationship because now we understand each other more. And I was blown away by that because I hadn't thought about the effect that being disorganized can have on a relationship until that moment. And then it was just this light bulb. Oh my gosh, you're right. This definitely makes a difference in relationships. I think about my own. My husband actually is more of a neat freak than I am sometimes. And so it's funny how things he's crazy about being neat about, I might not be so crazy about. And then there's things that I want to be neat and tidy that he could care less. So it's interesting. And if you have two polar opposites in that, where one doesn't care if it's nice and neat, and the other one wants, the odd couple, Felix and Oscar, you're bound to have some conflict. And so finding that place in the middle where each person feels heard and feels recognized for their needs, but also keeping it neat, keeping it, effective systems and function in the home makes such a huge difference. And then you take that and apply it to business relationships. And if you've got someone in your office who isn't very organized, it can affect your company. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I think most people understand just how powerful being disorganized can be financially.
Yeah.
But they don't really think about it in terms of energy or relationships. Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. That's really, really important.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Is there an optimal way to prepare for the journey with a professional organizer?
It really is about being sure to ask any questions you can think of, and making sure you spend some time really just getting a feel for the personality of a professional organizer. We've had in our chapter, you mentioned the Dallas chapter of NAPO earlier. In our chapter, we've talked about this where we can have 3 organizers that charge the exact same amount per hour. But the person who's going to be hired is the one where there is a good personality fit with the person that's hiring them. It's why we do assessment calls where we can just kind of talk a little bit. Let's find out if we're on the same page. Is our sense of humor the same? Even that can affect it. But there's also a side of it going into it with an open mind and not dreading it. Sometimes people are scared. Or you're going to touch my stuff. You're coming in to look at my stuff. This is really embarrassing. I don't know if I can do this. I need to clean it up before you get here. That's something. And it's like, no, it's okay. We're not here to judge you at all. In fact, a lot of times there's things similar in our clients with our own lives. Tell people the cobbler's kids have no shoes. There are times where my office is a wreck, and that's my specialty. So it's just knowing that we're all human. There's no judgment, and just being open and ready to accept someone's help.
I love how you said that. There needs to be rapport with a professional. And one of the strategies in Pitranomics is to get professional help when needed. And not every extremely competent person is a good fit with every potential client.
Exactly.
So, for example, and I'm just going to kind of share a little story for those that haven't heard it. I'm a real estate investor. That's primarily what I do. And you would think from the beginning, I would have been on top of my game as far as organization and my books and my receipts and my costs, and I was not. And then I found myself in the position where I was extremely vulnerable to business partners, and I decided I wanted to sue them. Well, in order to prepare for that lawsuit, I had to get a lot of stuff organized. I had to change fundamentally how I run my business. And thank goodness the professionals were there to help me. But my books weren't great. And not only that, I didn't know where the items were that I needed to help get my books up to par. So that's when I first started working with a professional organizer. Like, hey, I don't know where anything is. And you can't start building your books if you don't even know where the documentation you need is. So whenever you're going out to do anything, whatever your goal is, make sure that you're organized. It can't help but help in any way to be better organized. But don't beat yourself up if you're not there. These professionals aren't coming in to judge you and say, oh my gosh, you've been so disorganized. They know where you've been. They feel it. Find the one that is competent and build rapport with you, so you can feel excited about getting organized. So you can be excited about that journey. Do you agree, Pam?
Yes, absolutely. And it's interesting once you get started with someone, and you can always do a sample, let's just work together for a few hours and see how it goes. So that gives you a little bit more insight into the process and go, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought it might be. But it is interesting to me when a job is or a project is complete and how many times someone will say, there just feels like this huge weight is off my shoulders. And I didn't realize that I was feeling that pressure on myself. And I honestly think that the biggest excuse that people have for becoming disorganized and having clutter is life happens. Life happens, we get busy, we don't have time, and time is the biggest reason I get hired, because we can help you. Let's get you back on track. Let's get you back to a place where you can get caught up so that you can move forward in a more organized and functional way versus constantly trying to catch up yourself when you don't have the time.
Exactly. I agree. Let me ask this. Are there any special tools that someone should purchase or get or order in order to get ready to work for a professional organizer?
I don't believe so. There are few organizers I know where if they're doing a project, they may say, well, I want you to get these products ahead of time. In our business, we tend to say, don't buy anything, because a lot of times you may have the solution and not realize it. And the best example I have from one of my own experiences was a client who was a single mom. She had her home office. She had some really fun hat boxes in her master closet that we had found when we did her master closet. We were working on her home office, and there wasn't really there weren't any cabinets. There wasn't a closet. And like, oh my gosh, how are we going to create storage in here for things like office supplies? And we went and got those hat boxes and unstacked them and filled them with the office supplies and then put them behind her and on top of her credenza. It looked so cute, but it was her storage solution. She had the solution right there. We didn't have to buy anything to do that. She had something we could use. So for my company, no, we do not require that anything's purchased ahead of time, and we actually almost ask people not to buy anything until we can get in there and see what they already have.
No, I love that. The first time I worked with a professional organizer, she just said, have 3 boxes.
We bring that. I mean, everybody, yeah, 3 boxes are good, especially if you're going to be doing some homework on your own.
Yes. So there are all kinds of cool hacks. What do you wish every person knew about professional organizers before they hired you?
We are not magicians.
Okay.
I remember a client once asking me, can't you just fix it? Can't you just make it organized? And like, you have to remember how long it took to get cluttered. It didn't just happen overnight, and we certainly can't fix it overnight. So we might be able to fix it in a day. I don't want it to sound like we can't do something quickly, but many times magic is expected, and that's not reality. The shows that you see, you think about, there used to be a show, Mission Organization, and it looked like it was done pretty quickly, but that could have been something that took weeks of time behind the scenes. It's what you don't realize, the time and effort that went into it. The Hoarder show that we were on, we were there 3 days with 20 organizers. And for that particular episode, we organized the garage, a shed, and a part of the kitchen and a part of a spare bedroom, and that was it. That was all we could get done for her. So the shows make it look magic, but that's not how it happens in real life.
I think that's true based for just about any major change that you're trying to make. Whatever it was that got you into that position wasn't instantaneous. Whatever's going to get you out isn't going to be instantaneous.
Right.
And I know that was definitely true for me with my situation with my books. It wasn't like, ooh, poof, all of a sudden I was messy. No, it took a while. And it took a while to get out. It took a lot of sleepless nights just working through minutia because I didn't know what I needed. Now I'm better at it. I'm still not perfectly organized, but I don't beat myself up as much about it now. It's like, okay, I got to catch up. And I do have help. There are people that help me stay on top of things.
Nice.
So one more question. Is there a professional that you think that every busy person needs to have to augment the progress once you've left, to keep it going?
Depends on what their needs are. I have a client who is an executor for several trusts in his family and a couple of women from his church. He's just over all of that paper that comes in, and he hates paper. So for that client, I see him once a month. Sometimes I'm only there for an hour or two. Sometimes I'm there for 4. It just depends on the time of year. And towards the tax filing dates is when you start getting a lot of paper and sorting that out. But not everybody would need that much help. Sometimes you want to go digital with your paper to keep it more organized. That could mean, hey, is there a teenager in your neighborhood that might want to make some extra money and can scan those for you? So it just depends on the client and what their needs are, on what kind of continuing help they might need. But a lot of professional organizers like myself have a maintenance program too, where we can help go back like maybe once or twice a year and just do the little fine tunings to get it back to where it was when we first did the job.
Are there any hacks or tricks, something that you'd like to share? Like, this is something that I think every person could use, because I know there's
so many. I'm in the season of closets. Because we organize you name it, we organize it. But for just like a tip for a closed closet, and I think people may have heard this one, but it's tried and true, and I did it to myself and it worked, which is when you do make the time to go through your closet and you've decided, okay, I'm keeping all these clothes, I wear these all the time, I've got it to what I want. Turn all of your hangers backwards. And then as you're wearing your clothes throughout the year, you're doing laundry, you're putting it back on the hanger, you put them back the right way. So you've got all these backwards facing hangers. Now you're going to put one the front way. And about 6 months into that year after, you will notice that about half the hangers are front and half of them are back, which means you haven't worn all of those clothes that are backwards. And after a year is what we recommend. Some recommend 6 months, saying, okay, which ones out of that could I take out now because I haven't worn them? We say a year because you want to go through all the seasons, even in Texas, even though we really only have 2 seasons, hot or cold. But it's that looking at those hangers that are still backwards and being real with yourself. You didn't wear any of those clothes. What I found when I did that for myself is I started shopping from those backward hangers. Like, oh, I haven't worn this for a while. Well, now I'm aware of that. I'm going to wear it more. So it's kind of an interesting result that way too. But that definitely will help you when you think you know the answer. You think, I wear all these clothes. Well, then when you do that, you realize maybe I don't wear as many as I thought. You might be able to purge some more. That's one for like clothes I can think of.
No, I love that. And I just recently got rid of a bunch of shoes because in my mind, I was like, oh, they're expensive shoes. I should put them on Poshmark or something. But the time it would take to, at this point, dust them off, take the good pictures, interact with the people on Poshmark. We just picked up those boxes and took them to, wasn't a Goodwill, but it was somebody that
donation site.
And the lightness that I felt, I just got rid of it. I was like, okay. And the thing is, I hadn't looked at those in a while. I don't miss them. I made sure I didn't look at them because I would have started taking things back out. I just took them away and said, I don't know what I missed, but I'm sure it's blessing someone else. And that's things we can remember. What you can't use might bless somebody else. Let that item continue down the path. Okay.
Yeah.
So Well, those are the questions that I wanted to ask. Is there anyone that wants to either chat a question or unmute and ask a question that we can present to Miss Pam? Because listen, this is a really great opportunity to maybe make a change. If you're feeling in a rut, maybe it could be time for somebody to blow fresh air into your organizational life. Trust me, I know it really is. Does anyone have a question?
I have one. I guess I don't know how to ask it, but I'm trying to see, is there a difference in how you go about organizing your paperwork versus organizing like stuff?
That's just funny that you asked that question. I worked with another team member today, and we were talking about this, about, the process for any kind of organization job is about the same, because the first thing you're starting with is sort. And you're sorting your papers or you're sorting your clothes, but it definitely starts with sorting. And so it's not much different. And it's just, the requirements are a little different. For paper, there might be a retention schedule you need to follow to decide, well, how long am I supposed to hold on to this? We have retention schedules that we print off, but I also check my retention schedules with my CPA pretty often, just to make sure I'm still in tune with whatever the federal government says I have to keep. But the clothes is different, or toys is different, but it's still starting with sorting and sorting in it. Are you keeping it? Are you trashing it? Are you donating it? Paper you wouldn't donate, but paper you might shred instead of trash, or recycle. So it's still the sorting process. And then once paper's sorted, then it's creating files for it to be put away, or scanning it to digital files. Just like with clothes, once they're sorted, it's deciding, okay, what's the location of this, the long sleeve shirts versus the pants or whatever. So it's deciding homes and then getting things put away in those places.
Thank you. Does that kind of help you out, Shamir?
Definitely, yeah.
There's a question from Zoom. Do you have any suggestions for space-saving techniques?
Think vertical. That's the biggest one. Many times vertical space gets missed, or we don't realize that we can actually use it. Different closet shelving, for example, may be deep and they don't move. You can't adjust the shelves. So you might have some shoes sitting there, but then you have this much space above each pair of shoes that you're like, gosh, I wish I could do something with that. Oh, there are a little shelf, like you can add a little shelf from many organizing stores, or even Walmart has them. I mean, you don't have to spend a lot of money on things like this either, but you can add this second shelf, and guess what? You just fit another pair of shoes above the one you already have. There's also, like, just speaking of shoes, there's a product out there right now where it's a piece where both shoes fit on one little thing in your closet. Not a huge fan of them, but they do help create more space. Thinking about vertical or space, like in a pantry. Oh my gosh, so many pantries are the size of a coat closet. You got a family of 6, that ain't happening. So it's looking at the vertical space, perhaps on the back of the door. Could we add a back of the door system and get some, either a fancy one like from the Container Store, or maybe it's an over the door shoe system with the pockets, but you use it to put snacks in. I mean, there are ways to go vertical and use up more of the wall space that sometimes we don't think about. In a closet too, hanging hats up on a wall, right, when there's wall space, is a great thing to do versus trying to stack them onto a shelf or in a bin.
Okay. So, I like that. Thank you for asking that, Joel. I have a quick question. I have a habit. I love to go garage sale shopping, where I find wonderful treasures, and then the treasures come in. And then all of a sudden I'm in the midst of clutter.
Yes, I try. Well, yeah, we've helped a few clients where it's obvious there might be a shopping issue. If they get a lot of Amazon boxes, where it's usually a telltale sign. what we do, we try to encourage, and I was thinking about this after we talked about the hangers turning around backwards kind of thing. We try to encourage that when you've got a space that only so much fits in there, that if you're going to buy something new, something else has to leave. So that one's one of those that makes a, come to Jesus moment with yourself kind of thing. You got to get real and admit, like, okay, I cannot fit another thing on this shelf. What can I let go of? It is hard though when you like to do those kinds of things. There's always the encouragement of, how about instead of a garage sale, go to the library, rent a book or something.
That's not gonna work.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not as satisfying.
No, it's not. There's always, so last Saturday I found a table and chairs. I think this table is probably 72 inches and 8 chairs for $65.
But did you need a table and chairs?
I did. I was actually looking for a table and chair.
And you needed it to be that big?
Yes, I did.
So that worked well because it solved a need that you had.
It did. Now, all the other stuff I bought didn't necessarily solve a need, but but
I ask myself, if I find something, I'm a sucker if something is a really good price too. Like, you're just happen to walk by and nobody told me these were on sale. Oh my gosh. But I have to go, okay, wait a minute. Do I need these really? And if I do, what am I getting rid of that can allow room for it? Because you only get so much prime real estate, and it's what do you want to take the space up for you? What do you want to occupy that space?
Okay. There's another syndrome that I have that I know you're familiar with. It's I don't have anything to wear, but my closet is full.
Yeah. That, to me, a lot of that if it's a cluttered closet, especially, you feel like you don't have anything to wear because you can't see everything because it's, either stuffed in there or whatever. And that's where I'll tell you that turning the hangers around thing made a difference for me as far as shopping from my own closet, the not allowing, something new unless you're letting something old out. It's just when it gets too stuffed. I can say I had a client one time when we were done with her closets. She texted me later that week and she said, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm shopping in my own closet because I finally am aware of everything I have because I can see it. So I think a lot of times we don't realize everything we have if it's not organized well. And that happens a lot. I've organized a closet before for a woman who had 30 pairs of black pants. And it's like, I didn't realize I had that many pair. I like to wear black. A lot of people like to wear black because it's slimming. She didn't realize she had 30 pairs. And so she cut it down once she realized that. But without them all together, you don't know that's happening. And especially if it's a cluttered closet.
No, I like that. One of the things that I have done, just being thoughtful, is whatever my morning routine or routine for a situation is, I try to make sure that what I need on a daily basis is right there within reach. And I find even though it's not a big deal to reach, say, below your kitchen sink, not kitchen, bathroom sink, and get something, say your toothbrush or whatever, I'm not using it as much if it's not there. I'll just use my spare toothbrush. I won't reach down and get the electric toothbrush unless it's sitting on the counter.
Right.
But notoriously, bathroom counter spaces are not that big. So for the morning routine, how do you get around, if you have a trick for limited counter space, but to keep things where you need them so you're not taking that extra step of moving something or bringing something up?
It kind of goes to the think vertical too. If there's any type of wall space that you might have that you're able to hang, I actually have kind of an example one behind me. Like this is called a floating shelf. We use it for decorative purposes, but they're very handy also when there is a shortage of storage space. If there's a place where you can add a shelf or two, or etagères that fit over toilets that add about 2 or 3 shelves, or maybe a cabinet above it, are very helpful. Just the same thing of thinking vertical. It's surprising to me. I remember when we were taking my son to college and figuring out the dorm situation, which is notorious for being creative with space. And we used one of those tension rod shower where it goes from ceiling to floor and it has little shelves on it, and it's usually in the back of a corner. But if you take out the middle bar and make it shorter, sometimes it will fit on a countertop up to the ceiling, and then you've got some extra shelves on your countertop too. So it's thinking vertical. It's like, where can I get something not on the counter is even better, because then it's there and accessible, but it's not taking up your counter space quite as much. There are also some little, tray systems, like a stacking tray, lazy Susan kind of thing, where you can add some height and add different levels of organization too. If you can't go on the walls, maybe you can make more of that counter space and take it up in a system like that.
Okay. Before I ask my next question, let me just make a note of what it is. Does anyone else have a question they'd like to ask? Okay, I'm going to jump in. What do you think of people who stack all of their shelves with so many different tchotchkes because they don't like bare shelves? What's going on there?
Yeah, there is definitely, there are situations often even with our clients where we will create a lot of space, and there's this feeling that, well, now there's space, I need to fill it. I need to put something there. Too much empty space, that can't be right. Sometimes that's part of a therapy situation, like figuring out what is it that's making you feel the need to have it completely full like that. I try to tell people less is more. If I'm looking at your shelves and you want me to notice this little crystal ballerina that you have back here, unless I stood here and looked at every single thing on the shelf, I would never see that, because it's hidden behind all these other things. How do you maybe pick the things that you really want to be noticed more and have less out there? Still have great things. Maybe you alternate them once a year or something, or twice a year, whatever. Like you do with Christmas decorations, and you get them out, you put them back. Well, what if you trade out some of the things you have on display in the spring? My mom, for years, put different decorations out for every season. She would put away her spring and put out summer. She'd put away summer, put out fall. And that way she could have the little, like you're talking about, the little tchotchkes that were, orange and brown for fall. Then she could put them away and have something refreshing. And it always felt like she had a new space when she did it. And really, you appreciate it more like that too, because then you're having the space to really see those items that you want to focus on, versus just, ta-da, here's all my things.
I kind of like that. I think you can take something and put it away for a little while, and it's almost like new when it comes back. And I love talking about this particular topic, especially with respect to how important it is to help you prioritize. So here's something that I do, and people that know me, where are my keys? How many minutes do I spend looking for my keys when I'm trying to go somewhere, instead of putting them in the same place all the time? And when I have a place for them, I would say I'm much more likely, but minutes add up.
Yes.
Minutes over the course of the year become hours or even days. And if you always think about, what could I have done with an extra day? What could you have done with it? Well, what I did was I wasted it looking for my keys.
There is a statistic that just in the business world, an hour per employee is lost per day looking for something they have misplaced. And when you add up that many hours, what the company is paying for and getting nothing in return can become pretty expensive. The same thing with items that we lose. We've uncovered in a house 20 pairs of scissors. And I joked a little bit. I said, would you like me to create some art with this? Hang them and make them fun shapes. And she's like, no, what happens is I have a pair here, and my husband will walk off with them, and I don't know where they go. And then I'll put a new pair in, and then my daughter takes that, and it goes into the land of her room, And
the land of her room.
The land of her room. You don't know what's in there. Nobody's going in. So, when things get lost and they're not put back where they belong, it does make a huge difference, and it does cost time. For sure. Sometimes it costs money, because she was replacing the scissors all the time. So she was buying new scissors. And we found that in garages as, 4 hammers, like, oh, well, I couldn't find it for a while, so I bought a new one. Okay. So, it's a matter of getting that routine in place, having a place for everything helps in keeping your things where you can find them. It saves you the time, like you're talking about. It saves you the money of buying it again.
Right. And that's something that people don't think about, because when you're buying something again, it's like it's just $3. Well, if you've bought that, say, every month,
Exactly.
well, that's $3 of that one item. There's probably some other stuff you're buying.
Yes.
And so think about the cumulative effect, not just the instant effect, but the cumulative effect of being disorganized.
Mm-hmm. And then the clutter builds up as a result too. So yeah, it's just a vicious domino. That's all I can picture, as the dominoes all falling on top of each other.
We've got 2 questions in Zoom, but I want to just throw something at you real quick. What's your hack for mail? Mail, bills, paper?
At least have a place where it can land. Whether it's a basket, whether it's on a desk, just if you're one of those people who can't open it every day, especially, and this applies a lot to young parents, when you're trying to get your kid to eat some SpaghettiOs because you got to get them to soccer in a half an hour, nobody's opening the mail. So at least have a place for it to land so that you don't end up with mail everywhere.
Yes. Yes.
And when you do go to open it, I encourage people to open it in your office if you have an office space. If you don't, have a shredder in your kitchen if you have to. But you want to be able to be near a recycling bin and a shredder, so that as you open it, try to make a decision right then. If it's junk mail, there's no reason to lay it back down and come back to it later, because it's junk. You've already determined that. So the least amount of times you can touch it, the better. There is a thing that we've recommended people create an action center, just like a desktop file system where it has bills to pay, calls to make, or whatever. And as you open it right away, you're putting it in that file so that when you are ready to pay bills, you go right to that folder. So, but at least if nothing else, have a place for it to land. That is like just the basic thing that will at least get it all in one place.
No, I love that. And just to make a point, if you have a place for your action items to go, like pay bills, make sure you look at them once in a while, because not staying on top of your bills impacts your credit score.
And lost mail will cause you lots of late fees.
Yes. So there's another way of reserving or preserving the effectiveness of your money and your energy and time. Stay on top of your bills. Mm-hmm. There was one comment, I have a wish I could wear those clothes again closet.
I just talked with a lady this week where she was talking about that. She said, I've gained 40 pounds since COVID started. And so my clothes sizes have changed several times. And we talked about, she's getting ready to move. And so we were just talking about clothes in general. And I said, well, one thing that we recommend is at least if you've got that many size differences, which we're talking about 3 or 4 different sizes, why not bin up or box up or whatever is better for you, the clothes that are all the smallest size that you wear, attic, back of the closet, just somewhere where it's not quite taking up your prime real estate of the clothes that you're wearing now, but you don't have to give them up. And like she was saying, you have a clothes I wish I could wear closet. If you need that closet space, you could always just bend them up, make sure you label it on the outside that's what it is. Yeah, this was size medium. Got a few sizes to get to that one, but at least you'll know right where it is when it is time to start fitting into those clothes again. And if you're like me, when you hit a certain time and you're like, you know what? Life's too short, I'm going to eat my cheesecake, that bin's going to donation. It makes it a lot easier because it's already
packed up.
Yeah.
It's already packed up. And then let's see, the next one is, what are some of your favorite ways to enhance the aesthetics of organizational strategies you use for customers? So in other words, how do you make the organization pretty and not just functional? I guess
what's funny about that? I once had a client who didn't like the organizer she had hired. She had hired 3, and she didn't like it because all they did was make it pretty. And after I helped her, she wasn't happy because we'd made it pretty. And I said, maybe it's the concept that you're thinking all we did was make it pretty, but it's functional. And sometimes functional and efficient and getting rid of the clutter, the result is that it's pretty. It makes a difference. But if in situations where, like, especially if I'm organizing in a house where it's very important that things look a certain way, there are always beautiful baskets and bins and different ways to store things where it's not unsightly. But even labels anymore have come just from just the straight white tape on your, with the black lettering on it. This is your pencil tray. Now we have these really cute where it looks like a little blackboard and it's like chalkboard paint, but it's a label and it looks beautiful. Right. And so there's so many different ways to label, and they're not only at the expensive stores either. You'd be surprised what you can find at like Home Goods or At Home or Walmart, Target, dollar store sometimes has labels. So there are ways to make it cute or attractive and not so unsightly, or even in just containers where you wouldn't, like the hat boxes, you wouldn't know there were office supplies in there. It looked beautiful in our office, but it actually was storage.
How did you come up with the idea to use the hat boxes for storage?
Just, we had seen them when we were doing the closet and we were thinking, man, she needs something in here, like some boxes that are pretty. Hey, she had those hat boxes. Let's go get them. So she didn't want to let go of them. I think she either had received them as something somebody had given her, or they were her grandmother's or something. She didn't have hats in them. She just liked the boxes and didn't want to get rid of them. But when we could use them and have them on display, win-win.
So repurpose.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I'm going to add this. So I was shopping for a property manager up in Paris, and we visited with one yesterday or the day before. I can't remember when it was. And we walked into her home office, and it was wonderfully organized looking. Yeah. I mean, there may have been some chaos behind the doors of her file cabinet or whatever, but everything seemed to have a place. She was able to pull up like instantaneously, oh, here's an instant that. So she knew where the stuff was, or maybe she just, I don't know if she was like, that was a pre-planned like trick, but she was able to reach in and say, oh, here's an example of something that you might want to see, to a question that I've asked. So being organized can help you get a client.
Yes.
Can help grow your business. Whatever your business is.
You can sell your house as well.
Sell your house? Yes.
We were selling our house in Plano to move to Little Elm. And when it was sold, the couple, we were talking, and she said, there were two things that made me buy your house. One, I had the trick of, have some Toll House cookie bin in your kitchen. And when you're going to have people come look at your house, you hurry up and throw them in and have fresh, warm cookies for them. Mm-hmm. That was one. But the second, she said, the pantry. Oh my gosh, the labels and how organized it was. She said, don't take those labels off.
Wow.
So yes, it can make a huge difference. And the other side of it being organized too is that we had so many papers. We had lived in that house for 10 years. I had the papers for any kind of home improvement we had done, like a new water heater and things like that. And when you're going to sell your house, you have to list, when did you replace the water heater? How many people know that date? I wouldn't have known it if I didn't have that folder, but I also left that file for the new owners. So now they've got all the paperwork on those things. So being organized made it just so many ways for that selling of that house. It made it go much more smoothly than it had if I was disorganized, for sure.
No, I actually, there was a woman's house that we looked at, or a house that we looked at, and her pantry was so organized. And I was like, wow, it makes it seem like you have room for everything.
Yes.
It makes it seem like you're not dealing with a cramped space when it's organized.
Yes.
Okay. And I also want to talk a little bit about the effect on your mood and energy when you're sitting in a space of clutter. So I have a space where I do work, most of my work. I haven't spent much time there lately because I'm up here in Paris a lot. But when I'm there, I can work because everything about that place is designed for me to work optimally. Everybody needs to find that little space in their house or in whatever. Find that space and design it perfectly. I think it's color. I think it's lack of clutter. I think it's having the things that you need in the prime real estate areas. Would you agree?
Yes, for sure. And good lighting. Good lighting can make a difference.
Good lighting.
Yeah.
And good lighting. Yes.
But yes, visual clutter is so real. Oh my goodness. It's one of the things that we do for our company, and we sometimes subcontract for other organizers, or they subcontract for us, is if we put a new bin in for something with a plastic bin, there's always some kind of label on it. No, take the label off. Oh my gosh. When you look at a garage, think about a garage that maybe has all of the Christmas decorations and plastic bins in the garage. And if you're looking across at 4 bins and they've all got the store label on there, it's not as pleasing if you're going to consider storage pleasing, but it's distracting for those labels to be on there versus just a label that says Christmas or no label at all. It's visual clutter. And it's one of the things I'm like, no, take the labels off. They're unnecessary, so take it out. And it's the same thing. If there's unnecessary things in your space and you're trying to achieve peace, unnecessary things will start to get to you. And it seems silly. You think, gosh, what's the big deal about labels on a bin? But it does over time start to get to you, and you start thinking, gosh, it's so cluttered in here. Well, that can make a difference. Visual clutter is just a huge part of it.
So I think that's interesting that you said that, because a few years ago, I went through and just threw away all of my shoe boxes. I mean, I don't really need to know what brand they are because I bought them, so they're there. And I bought a bunch of those Container Store shoes, and the men's shoes, and the boot.
Yes.
And I love those.
Yes.
Because they're clear, and then you can stack them. Now, one thing, let me ask you about this. If you have someone else going into your organized space, how do you get them to buy into your organizational strategy? So my pantry, for most of the time I was a housewife, was very organized. Now that I'm spending a lot of time out of the house, nobody's adhering to my organizational strategies. How do you get people to buy into that and to still do it?
Is the pantry labeled?
Yes, ma'am.
So they're ignoring the labels.
They're not only ignoring labels, they're putting stuff on top of my carefully labeled containers instead of putting them into the carefully labeled containers.
That one's going to call for a little bit of a family meeting time, I'm thinking, and just to find out, is there a reason for them that they don't want to respect that, the effort and time that's gone into that, because it does save time and effort when you are organized. And I would think about just wondering, what is it that you want to put the cereal box back sideways on top of the spaghetti when it doesn't go there? Over here, there's a label right here. And there might be a reason.
On top of the container marked cereal.
Exactly. No problem. Like that's going to cause that's a need for a family discussion. Like, we need to talk about the pantry people, because and what it's doing, because of that, it's creating a need for you to spend time fixing it, or somebody.
Exactly.
And the more that happens, the less easy it is to find what you're looking for. So they're actually causing themselves more time. So, less time available, because they're having to spend time doing the same thing, looking for things in the pantry. And sometimes they just don't understand that. It could be just explaining that. Like, look, did you know organization actually saves you time and effort, and you're actually spending more energy putting it away wrong than you would if you'd put it back right where it goes.
No, that is so true. And, here's the thing. In the whole Pitranomics strategy, it's something that you keep working toward. You're constantly getting better. And one of the end of life goals that my husband and I share, that I talk a lot on Pitranomics, is our goal for our children. We wanted to raise sane, productive, independent members of society.
Yes.
So independent, so they leave and don't come back as burdens for us. Not that we don't love them, but good golly, you put in a whole lot of work into your kids.
It is, yes.
Whoops. You want them to go out and have good relationships, so they can't be completely crazy. And they have to be able to give back to that society, to that. Mm-hmm. So I found when I was a new mom with two kids under 2, I thought I was going to lose my mind. Ooh. I found a place called the the purple lady, I think that was. No, Fly Lady.
Fly Lady, yes.
Fly Lady. And there was something very simple that she used that helped me a lot with 2 kids. And she said, get a timer, organize for 15 minutes.
Yes.
Commit to the 15 minutes.
Yes.
And when you're trying to stay on top of kids and tantrums and diapers and food and spit up on the floor, whatever, that was really, really helpful. I accomplished something, and that helped boost my energy that I wasn't constantly living in this house. Because nobody teaches you, or at least not these days, how to run a house with kids. They teach you how to go to school and get a job and be, you know, all ambitious and stuff. But I didn't know how to keep
right.
15 minutes. You can do a lot in 15 minutes of concentrated energy.
It's true.
15 minutes.
And that concept works for when you've got that room that you close the door to, that everything disappears to at some point, especially if you're having people over, you hurry up and hide everything in that room. And then before you know it, you can barely open the door to that room.
Yep.
We tell people, you know, it's progress, not perfection. So set your timer, like you're saying, 15 minutes, even if you feel comfortable with 30, great. But then don't tell yourself, and this is where people make a mistake. This Saturday, I'm going to organize my garage. I can guarantee you one person is not organizing the garage in one day unless there's not much in there. It takes a while to do something like that. So putting that limit on yourself of, I'm going to do it all. You can't, it's going to be one that you're going to be setting yourself up for failure.
And so don't do that.
And then picking a corner, just pick a corner. This is the corner I'm going to start in, and I'm going to set my timer. And when the timer's done, walk away. Just go take a break. Treat yourself with something. Maybe it's just a walk outside with fresh air, or it's a fresh apple, something that feels like, that's right, I did it. I just spent I've got progress in that room. It's not done, but I've got progress, not perfection, progress. It's so huge, the difference that will make in your psyche. And it may make you go, you know, I'm going to do another 15 minutes now because I'm on a roll, and that's fine. But make sure you're, you know, at least realizing I'm just going to do this 15 minutes, or I'm going to do this 20 minutes, and use your timer. Everybody's got a timer now because they've got a phone, you know, pretty much. It's easy to do.
And here's the thing, small victories help pour back into your energy cup.
Yes.
So you can do more. Don't deplete your cup by constantly setting yourself up for failure.
And it's a good kind of exhaustion if it does tire you out. It's a good when you've accomplished something like that.
And then where did I want to go? Oh, back when my kids were small, I got into coupon clipping, which I guess people don't do anymore. I don't know. I don't.
But now too, which is like, okay.
Yeah, I used to love to do that because I would, it would force me to think about what I wanted to buy. And I remember having a coupon for like, buy 4 cans of condensed milk, sweetened condensed milk, get 4 free. And it was probably about 6 months ago that I threw those cans out with an expiration date of 2016.
Yeah.
They were in a nice organized part of my pantry, like, oh, I'll get to it, but no. So being organized, knowing what you have helps you not waste money buying more of it, and helps you stay on top of not wasting what you've already bought.
Exactly. Yeah, food is a big one. When we organize pantries, we throw away so much food that it has expired. And there's that immediate gratification of throwing things away. But at the same time, it's sad because, like, gosh, how much money was spent on this food that we're throwing away? And so when you know what you have, when you can see it, that is one area that in my own home, it stays organized, because I will look in there and I'll go, this is the section where tomato sauce is supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Every can. So I need more because I can tell right here it's empty. If I just had them all in there, just cans on the shelf, it's all canned food. It's on one shelf. It's just all on it. I wouldn't know if I had any more, because you need it to be at least in the same area, grouped together. Maybe it's all tomato sauce or tomato based products. That's fine. But at least something that will help you know what you have and what you run out of. And sometimes if you run out of it, you might not need more anyway. But
you might, I didn't need any more sweetened condensed milk. That was for sure.
I had a pumpkin in July. Something went wrong in November.
Exactly. So take a real quick break. Does anybody have another question they'd like to ask or something they'd like to share about their organizational journey or their chaos journey? Either one.
No, I do. That where you said to like kind of pick a corner and to try not to do it all. I wrote it down: progress, not perfection. That really does pay off because this past weekend I spent like an hour in my garage. And it was happenstance because I needed something that was in there. And it was just like, oh, let me just try to move some stuff around and I'm clearly not finished, but I got what I needed. And now when I go into my garage, I'm like, oh my God, it looks so great in here, even though I'm still not finished organizing and everything.
You're noticing
I
it.
feel the reward when I walk into my garage now because I'm
Nice.
like, oh, nice.
Awesome.
So that does really work. And I need to take note of that and do them more often. Little things.
You know what? There's a comment from Zoom. Thanks so much. I needed to hear that because my garage scares me something awful. Okay. So,
Garages can be scary places. And right now, oh my gosh, that's the big thing that I'm pushing as far as advertising for my company is I've shared some of the clips from that hailstorm that was last week and how many claims have come as a result, especially for the cars that were sitting out. And it's just, hey, if your car didn't survive this, it could have had the defense of Chaos Pros. You know, that's my angle on it. But it really makes a huge difference if you've got a garage that you can't fit your car into, and think about how much that car costs and how much it would cost to replace it. We're talking inflation. How, you know, you got a $20,000 car sitting in the driveway, but the things in your garage maybe could be replaced for $5,000. Something's off. And
you know what? I cannot tell you how many times I see people parking 2 and 3 cars in front of the garage. I'm like, what's in that garage?
When they open it and you're like, whoa, get it organized and your car will fit back in there. Now, some garages are made to be specifically, there's a garage across from a gentleman I was talking to, and he said, in my neighbor's garage, you open it and his ping pong table is there, and he's got his bar stools and he's got his man cave in his garage. Sometimes that's on purpose, but a lot of times it's not on purpose.
That is using the space rather than letting the space abuse you. So yeah, I agree. So we're a little bit past time. I just want to wrap up how important it is to stay organized to help you accomplish your goals, to help you stay on path, and to help you optimally use your resources. So we've touched on how not being organized with paper, with your bills, can cost you money, can impact your credit, can cause you to miss some things in your business. And clutter in your workspace can cause your colleagues or potential clients not to choose you. That is
cost you your job too.
Cost you your job.
We were hired by a company once to help a gentleman organize his office because they were going to have to let him go if he couldn't get organized.
Ooh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a horror story. It can cost you your job. Let's stay focused. Also, Pam has talked about visual clutter and how distracting it can be, and also how draining from your energy it can be to constantly be looking for something or trying to get ready to do a task. How many times am I looking for my glasses, you know, because I need to read something? I now have like 10 pairs of these things. And still, don't laugh, David, but still occasionally I'm like, where are my glasses?
Yes.
Like, I don't need
my grandmother would do this. I can't find my glasses.
Where are my glasses? So exactly. So keep your energy high by not distracting yourself from your path. And as far as time, I mean, clutter impacts time everywhere.
Yes.
And so if you're committed to using your limited resources, think about it. One of the things we talk about in Pitranomics is you have work, you have relationships, you have rest, you have food you need to get. After you've taken care of those essentials, those are the resources you have available to accomplish your goals. If you're further squandering them with disorganization, you are decreasing your opportunity and your ability to accomplish those goals. So, and don't beat yourself up about it. Progress is what you want, not perfection.
Right.
Always consistently get better. Don't judge yourself. A wonderful professional like Pam is going to be able to help you. That's why we want those good professionals. And she's got a great personality, at least for me. I hope she's resonated with each of you. Is there a way to put your information in the chat? Can you do that? And then we can share it on the Zoom.
I do see it. Okay. I've not done this yet. There you go.
And then we have a comment from Zoom. Thank you for sharing about this topic. It is something most people can improve on. So back to...
My pleasure.
Yeah, back. So there's one thing I wanted to start sharing. This, thank you for coming. Starting next week,
having me.
I am going to start doing this publicly. So we're hopefully going to keep working through some of these little technical difficulties, but I'm going to start putting it on my personal Facebook page and on my YouTube live stream. So thank you for everyone that has supported me. I've been doing this about 1.5 years with not sharing it with very many people. It's going to start growing. I hope you continue to grow with me. Pitranomics is the strategy to grow, protect, and transfer wealth. And I would love to have people on that can help implement the strategies. And I'd love to hear from all of you how you're using them. And I will always share what they've done for me. So thank you for joining me on this Thursday talk. We're going to end the broadcast and then figure out how to take everything down. And I hope to see all of you next week. Mwah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.